No one has waged it more fiercely than Professors Lonnie Thompson and his wife, Ellen Mosley Thompson. They have made it their personal quest to unlock the frozen history of our climate. He is one of a small group of scientists whose research actually led to the discovery of global climate change, and she leads a major polar research team at the Ohio State University, where they both work, and they both join me now. Thank you both for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What was your most important discovery? We've talked about connecting the dots when it comes to global warming and climate change, but what led you to it?
Well, I think when you look at the history, when we started, glaciology was kind of a boutique subject. Very few students went into this area. There were very few jobs in the area because glaciers only cover 10% of the surface of the planet, and there are places where people don't live. But as time has gone on, and we've had the opportunity to observe these glaciers now in over 16 countries, we've become very concerned about the rate at which the ice is being lost.
And as you heard Professor Kaku talking about ice cores, and that is what you've brought back. And I know you, Professor Thompson, have played a huge role in interpreting the data and the evidence. What of the ice cores, particularly the ones I think you got from Peru, what have they told you? What has it led you to know?
Well, there are various chemical species and physical properties that we can extract. Probably one of the most important is that temperatures in the 20th century have been rising. Of course, thermometers tell us that, but the ice cores tell us this as well. But in addition, we get information about precipitation, about the chemistry of the atmosphere. So it's just getting that holistic picture.
And Professor Thompson, from what I understand, some people have praised your work, saying that the beauty of it is in its simplicity. How did you manage to convince the skeptics that what you discovered was not just part of a historical cycle?
It's the length of the records. The ice cores give you a time perspective that you can't get from any other source. The ice is annual. You can go back, you can go through what supposedly were 500-year cycles, 1,000-year cycles, and see that they don't exist on a global scale. And so that perspective is what, very much like tree rings. They're annually layered. You can see those temperature variations. You can see the dry seasons and the wet seasons.
How long have you been doing this for? Because it seems to be that you're in a race against time.
We've been doing this since the early 1970s. And as time has progressed, when we started, there was no discussion, serious discussion on global warming and climate change. I mean, you go back in the 70s. But our observations with what was happening with the glaciers, and we had the opportunity to go back year after year to observe these changes. And they are in remote places where most people don't see it. But glaciers are one of our early warning systems on this planet.
And as I said, you have been interpreting a lot of this data. You went to Kilimanjaro, and there are amazing pictures. And I think you predicted that the ice would be gone from Mount Kilimanjaro. What have you learned from that? And you've brought the ice back to the university, right?
Yes, the only ice cores ever to be collected on Kilimanjaro were collected by our team. And after our major analyses, we have retained those for smarter people in the future.
I hear you have something like, I don't know, is it 40 miles of it? How much ice do you have at Ohio?
We have 7,000 meters.
That's a little over 4 miles.
4 miles, there you go.
Yep.
An extra zero, I shall take off. But what does it mean? Does it mean that perhaps one day that will be the only ice that's available to study?
Right. For some locations, such as Kilimanjaro and for Calcaya ice cap in Peru, that's undoubtedly will be true at some point in the future.
Two of the 6 sites that we drilled in 2000 are now gone. I mean, the glacier is gone.
Whereabouts?
In Kilimanjaro.
2 of the sites there?
2 of the 6 sites. So that ice is in the freezer at Ohio State. And you give it 20 years, if you want to see ice or look at ice from Kilimanjaro, you'll have to come to the freezers at Ohio State.
So how do you decide how hard to keep pushing yourself to do this work? I mean, I know that it's taken a huge toll on your health. You've had major heart issues. You've had a heart transplant.
This is correct. But it's, you know, everyone has their passion, and as we've come through time, it's become more of a salvage mission, because these histories of our past will disappear. And understanding natural variations in things like El Niños and monsoons, that history will go with the ice. And even if the climate at some stage does cool again, that history will be gone.
Do you think it will? Unless,
Yes.
I mean, without intervention?
On our current course, they will disappear.
The ice caps
The
and
ice
the
caps,
glaciers?
Yes.
Where do you need to go next? What is your next area of study?
Well, we have been doing a lot of work with our colleagues at Institute of Tibetan Plateau Research in Tibet. There are a lot of glaciers there, for over 46,000, very important for water resources. There's the headwater of many of the major rivers like the Indus, the Ganges, the Brahmaputra. And knowing what the history is, what's the past history, and then how is that history changing today is critical for millions of people. And so getting that history is one of our main objectives.
It's incredible that you're still at it. Professor Thompson, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you.
And we've seen the science, we've heard the personal story of trying to prove it, and now comes the hard part, finding the political will to do something about climate change. When we come back, a former insider who knows how Washington handles change and who has the scars to prove it. But first, take a look at this picture. The naked truth about global warming comes to a glacier in the Swiss Alps. Yes, those people are naked. We'll be right back.